Welcome, everybody, to Reading the Teen Leaves. So, happy Friday morning to you. We're going to talk about how we capture, as my father would say, the Ute in radio. So, we're going to talk about digital strategy. We're going to talk about label strategy, radio strategy, and do a little brainstorming there, too. So, we're going to kick it off with Jenny Brophy, veteran programmer at major markets in Boston. And you've been very fortunate in that, in your experience as a programmer, that you've had sort of a fully staffed promotion team at your station. So can you talk a little bit about the composition of that and sort of what their roles are and sort of how you work together every week?
Sure. So again, I've had such a great team to work with, but what we did is we have weekly meetings, and in those meetings are everybody. It's not just the promotions director and the program director. So we deal with promotions, we deal with marketing, we have the digital director in with us, and any younger demo person in that marketing department or in my programming team that wants to join us. So we have about 8 people in that meeting every week, and we strategize, we go through what's happening, what's coming up this week, what we want to put on social media, how we're going to handle it, any interviews that are coming up, like artist interviews, you want those up not only on social media, but on the air, playing pieces of that. So that's what we talk about, and they're very passionate, and I'm blessed in that. And if you don't have a big team, like I was fortunate to have, you still can do it, because draw from your street teamers, draw from the younger demos in your office. I mean, they love to be involved. And part of managing well is really engaging the people that you do have and say, hey, come help me. What are your ideas? What can we do to make this really great? One of the things that we came up with early on, we kept doing Facebook contests, and it's great. Facebook is awesome. But trying to reach the younger demos, we decided to try Instagram contests. I know it sounds like, why didn't you think of that earlier? But we just didn't, because everybody has Facebook. We, back in November, did a CMA Awards flyaway, and it blew everything out of the water that we had done on Facebook. Instagram was so much better for our demo. We were keyed to the younger demos. Yes, we want to protect our 25-54 demo, but we have to keep growing our numbers and growing our cubes. And they have so many things to distract them now. Everybody does, right? Because everything is competition. So the Instagram contest was a huge success. We were excited about that. 16,000 impressions, 11,000 reach. So that was really cool. Katie, one of the other things that we did is we like to brainstorm when an artist is coming in. So like if you have an artist doing a radio tour, here's the key. They don't know you, you don't know them, but find something fun to do with them. Obviously, this was a no-brainer. At the time Blanco Brown came into our studios, the song was really hot. Not a lot of radio stations were playing it, nor played it a lot, but it was certainly a viral moment. So even though we weren't really playing the song, we took advantage of looking ahead to what was trending, and that's really important. Look for what's trending and talk to your younger demos. YouTube is your friend, trust me. You can find anything on there, but you can find so many great ideas of what's trending. So with Blanco, he came in, and we just took our sales assistants and shot the video. We did a quick interview with him. We didn't even bring him in the studio. He never went in the studio. We did everything from another studio. We did video, we did audio, and then we recorded the dance and posted it on all social media, and it was incredible. On Instagram, we had 3 million views, unheard of for a radio station. We had over 3,000 comments. Most of them were about the people behind him and how they didn't know how to dance, which was pretty funny. And then 11,000 shares. That's huge for a radio station to have that kind of digital footprint.
Well, not only that, but you were able to sort of extend the life of that, right, by sort of continuing to cross-promote it, by having the comments and then being able to go on air with the comments, and you were able to really sort of, again, extend it for a period of time.
Great point, Katie. When you're doing your social media, just remember, we cross-promote on the air, right? We'll cross-promote across all your platforms, too. You're talking, if you have a viral video up on your social media, you should be talking about it on the air. Hey, did you check this out? And everything that you do, cross-promote across platforms, not just across your day parts. That's a great point.
When you obviously here you have set points that you know are going to happen in terms of your CMAs. We have events throughout the year that you know you're sort of working toward. Then it's a matter of sort of capitalizing on artist appearances or having something go viral. So rather than do the basic, artist goes into the studio, obviously you did this with Blanco, but then in the next example, you're going to show us how you sort of tapped, again, some of the younger demo and your promotion team in terms of some ideas.
Yeah. So we had Kane Brown come in, and okay, you all know Kane Brown. He's can be very quiet. We love him. But sometimes it takes a minute for him to get going in an interview. And you really have to gauge, your staff. Okay, my staff is young. They have a million ideas. Every day I would sit with them and we would go over just stuff that happened on TV, or what was fun that you've seen, or what have you checked out on video. And so we knew Kane was coming in, and we were like, you know what? We know what our competitor is going to do, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to put him in front of a microphone in a studio, even in another studio. What we're going to do is play a game with him and get him really loosened up. So one of my air talent came up with the idea. She had seen Little Big Town on Jimmy Fallon, and they played musical beers, where they're in a circle, and it's like musical chairs, but you walk around a table. And so we said, well, let's do that with Kane. And immediately our digital director said, no way. You're not serving alcohol on video, no way. So we decided to call it Musical Cups, and we never say what's in the cup. So this is, yeah, and you have to think of the legal, perspective too, but then you want it to be fun. So this is what happened. This is a 70-second clip, and I want you to watch it because Colton Bradford is our afternoon guy, and he's also on TV, so he's like just brilliant at making people feel comfortable. And then we have some of our other team members, and cross-promote with our Jammin' morning show. She's in there too, so just give a watch here.
Hello, everybody. You guys ready to have some fun in here? Yeah! There we go. Colton Bradford from 1017 The Bull, joined by Kane Brown. Make some noise for Kane Brown. So we've got Kane hanging out with us for a little while, and we decided we'd have some fun with him. So we've devised the game called Musical Cups. So basically, it's musical chairs, but with a little red solo cup action. You can see here. Not only is Kane joining us, we also have Jen and Terry, Robert, Jen and Terry, Amanda Joe from 1017 The Bull, and last but not least, Ashley Feldman from Jammin' 94.
Hello, everyone.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
So you guys ready?
Ready.
Should we cue up the music? Kane, are you ready?
Can I tie my hair back?
Ashley, you ready? Yeah.
Why do you think I wore a bun?
All right. All right.
So, yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, Ashley, no.
I'm going.
Let's see what you're doing too. No! Dang it!
So Colton was out, and he continued to, moderate the whole situation. And it went on for like 4 minutes, and we had so much fun. And by the end of this, Kane was laughing, and he was feeling pretty good and so comfortable with us. But we posted it on all of our platforms again, and on Facebook we had over 1,000 comments, we had over 1,000 shares, and we had 107,000 views. A little trick, though, is on the way out, Kane went into our studios afterwards and had a phenomenal interview with Amanda Joe, who does middays, because he was like just so comfortable at that point and just having fun. So on the way out, I said to Kane, hey, knowing his social media numbers, hey, Kane, do you think you could share that onto your platforms? And he's like, yeah, no problem. And that's how it works. That's how you do marketing without a budget to make it happen,
And obviously everyone's socials, especially with an artist, are hot currency right now. I mean, obviously for us, that's something that we have at the label every week. We're going through numbers in terms of trying to reach those, because again, that's helping us reach the consumer. So one of the other things that you talked about doing was sort of refreshing your imaging to appeal to a little bit of a younger demo as well.
Yeah, and so this was another thought that we had. We wanted to appeal to the younger demo, again, protecting our older demo too, but we wanted to grow the cume. So we did freshen up our imaging. So we kept our main male imaging voice, but I switched to a female, and this woman, Tiffany, was actually in our building on KISS 108, and I stole her from them. And I just want you to hear her voice and how she speaks to the demo, and also take a listen to how we write, because when we write our imaging, we write it to that demo.
Beer in the shower? Yeah, we know how to keep it classy. 1017 The Bull. If you binge Luke, Thomas, and Marin like Stranger Things and The Office on Netflix, we got you. 101.7 The Bull. Pucks and Pigskin season's here. Bring on the wings and Oktoberfest beers. Horns up, New England. 101.7 The Bull.
So just something else to keep in mind. You know, it takes a lot of different things to put together a great radio station, and you have to pay attention to the details. But if you are looking for the younger demos, it's just all the little things that you do along the way. And hopefully you have help and you have your younger demos within your office that you can help, whether you have a big staff or a small staff. And if you don't have any younger demos in your office, that's okay too. Check in with your nieces and your nephews or your kids. They're out there and they're always happy to talk about what they love, what music they love, how they discover music, what viral moments that they want to talk about. TikTok, that's another big one. I mean, it's not huge for us as radio programmers yet, but it will be. All of the artists are on it right now. So it's something certainly to watch and something to take advantage of in the early stages. The younger demos are on TikTok all the time, and guess what? So are the moms now. So it's kind of like what Facebook was a long time ago. So take care of those viral moments. These are some takeaways for you. Also, pop culture moments. Pull ideas from other popular national platforms. Oh my gosh, if you look at Ellen, or Jimmy Fallon, or any of the late night shows, you can go on YouTube and just find them. You don't have to watch them. Just go Google them. There's so many funny things that you can do. And so try to be creative that way too. You don't have to think of all the ideas. We can't, as one person, you can't think of all the ideas, but pick out ways to find those fun moments from people who are already doing it, right? There's no new ideas. Create a social strategy. Talk with your digital director every week. Our social numbers went through the roof for 2019. Why? Because we planned it out and we had a social strategy. If you're just throwing things up there as they come along, well, that's fine too, but make sure you're cross-promoting. But if you have a plan, it's 10 times better. Also, back up your on-air content with digital platforms for more engagement. This is what I talked about before. Whatever you're doing, if you have a viral moment or you have something up, an interview, somebody comes in for an interview, make sure that you set appointments, right? Kane Brown's coming in at 12:10, and you back it up on social media, and you plan it out with your digital person. But cross-promote. Everything on the platforms should be on the air too, and vice versa. Air talent. You know, we have to talk about podcasting for just a slight second because the biggest growth in podcasting is for ages 12 to 24. Everybody's listening to podcasting. And it's really important that your air talent create their own podcast. And it can be something just once a week. I know we all have only so many hours in a day, and there's so many things to get done, right? But make it fun, and it doesn't have to be long. 10 or 15 minutes, but fun. And finally, finding your station vibe with your imaging talent, right in younger demo speak, or whatever your target demo is, right in the demo speak, how they talk, things that they say. I don't know always what a 20-year-old is going to say, but my staff, they know. So get their help.
And I think you make a really good point too, where even if you are sort of short-staffed, there's a network of people around you, whether it be family or children and friends or whatever the case there. And I thought it was interesting when we were talking too, because you said that obviously we feel like a lot of the youth, they refer to Facebook as sort of the old internet, but the reality is they're still on it.
Oh yeah,
they're just lurking as opposed to participating. And obviously you guys will get a little bit more into that too. But thank you very much. I was remiss in saying this at the beginning, but just because I was so excited to talk to Ginny. But if you have any questions, please submit them via the app, and Joey will be sort of running those down for us, so you're welcome to submit those. And one of the things that I feel like we always talk about, even on the label side, we have staff meetings every year, and it's always when Mike Dungan sort of reaches out about the agenda, one of the things that always comes up is the importance of brainstorming. Again, it feels like a groupthink is going to be far better in terms of coming up with ideas. There's an element of creating a safe space there. And I know that when Joey and I were talking about this, he was so impressed with Matt, and I think went to a 2-day seminar. So you are really going to drill it down for us right now and make it a quick sort of overview. But please welcome Matt Sunshine.
Yeah, so we're gonna cram 2 days into 12 minutes. That'd be fun. All right. So the way it works, and it was so great hearing neat ideas, or someone's coming in the station and you need to think of things, and That's a lot of pressure, right? That's the way that's almost exactly the way it happens. I need an idea, and then it escalates. At some point, it's like, no, we need a great idea. There's a lot riding on this one. And then even worse, the pressure of, and we need it today, like by lunch, like right now. Be creative. Go make creativity happen. And it's really difficult to be creative spontaneously. It's really be creative on demand. I mean, there are some people out there, I guess, that can just poof, and they produce ideas, but that's not realistic. That's not a repeatable, predictable process to generate quality ideas again. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So what normally happens is, as you just heard, is say, okay, let's just get a group of people together and we'll brainstorm. Which is, and usually there's alcohol involved. Let's do it like today. We'll bring in beer and we'll get some ideas. And the reason why we like that idea is because one time it worked. And we all remember the one time it worked. And that's fantastic. But again, it's not repeatable, it's not predictable. You can't count on quality ideas being produced. So brainstorming is a truly structured process. And I'll explain what all this says. You can take a picture, or the slides will be up and you can have them later. But so brainstorming goes back to the 1950s, if you want to know where it comes from. Sid Parnes and Alex Osborne are credited as the two people that invented modern-day brainstorming. Sid Parnes was a ad executive for either a radio station or TV station, I believe in Buffalo. Alex Osborne was the O in the BBD&O, one of the world's largest ad agencies at the time. And the two of them got together and they said, you know what, if we're going to come up with ideas, we need to come up with a system, something that would work all the time. And they created brainstorming. And so the essence of brainstorming is this. You separate the generating ideas from the choosing the best idea. You just split them up. And you really have to be committed to doing that. So let me give you an example. You're all sitting around brainstorming, and I've set it up the right way, and I got candy, and I got markers, and we're writing on the boards, and we're doing all that. And someone throws out an idea, and I go, no, we couldn't do that. I just judged that idea, right? Or you say something and then I write it up on the board, but I don't write it the way you said it. I changed what you said to my words. And the moment I change your words, I'm judging you. And now you're done giving me ideas. And what you got to know when you're brainstorming is that the person at the front of the room facilitating, their only job is to get a long list of ideas. Their job is not to pick an idea. Their job is not to get the best idea. Their job is just to get a long list of ideas. So remember that a second. Long list of ideas. How do you do that? So generate possibilities and then choose among them. So if you had 30 minutes to brainstorm, I would say this. Spend 20 minutes getting the problem statement right. What are you brainstorming? What are you trying to do? I'm going to give you a formula to use. That's going to be the takeaway, a formula that you can use. But let's play this through. Let's just read this. If we ask, in what ways might we build a better mousetrap, we're going to come up with solutions to improve the little device known as a mousetrap, right? That we need to. But what if we change the way we ask the question? What if we say, in what ways might we kill mice? Well, we're going to get different ideas. But what if we changed it even this way? And we said, in what ways might we get rid of mice? See how we started with, in what ways might we build a better mousetrap? And that's limiting. You're only going to get a certain amount of ideas. If I say, in what ways might we get rid of mice, all of a sudden your mind opens up. Well, I can think of lots of ways to get rid of mice, because isn't that really what we're doing? Right? We hire brainstorming to get us ideas. That's why we hire brainstorming, to get us ideas. So remember that. I have a list here, and I think this is in the app. You can go and download this. But this is just the rules of brainstorming, you know, and they're pretty generic. I mean, everyone's seen the no judging, no evaluating, no criticizing, best ideas wins. There's no bosses. There's no hierarchy. And that's really important that you set it up that way. And you got to follow the rules. Everything on the left is the generating of ideas. So people always ask, well, when do you decide on the idea? Afterwards. Like after you're all done and everyone goes away and now you're looking at your list of, 50 ideas, and you just say, you know what criteria are we going to use to make the best decision? And then we're going to be critical, and we're going to, is that legal? Can we do that? Of course you're going to do all those. Is it really possible? Could that ever really happen? But during brainstorming, we're going to let it go. So here's the formula. When we brainstorm, we always start with the I whammy statement, the in what ways might we? And, that's just, it's smart to use common language, because if you do this enough, you'll get used to seeing that, and your mind will know, okay, it's time for me to generate ideas. So use the right language. So in what ways might we get someone to do or believe something at a place in a time frame? That's the formula. And your job is just to plug in who the someone is, what do you want them to do or believe, where, and when. So let me give you an example. So EOS lip balm, and it is EOS, one word. It's not EOS. And I know that because I Googled it to find out. And it's a highly controversial, there's lots of responses, people debating this. So if you want, EOS Lip Balm comes to us and they say, hey, we need help selling our product. Can you help us? So we would say, okay, how can we help them sell their product? Who's got some ideas? And the room would fall silent. No one would have any ideas. Maybe one person would throw something out. But what if I said, in what ways can we get more people to buy EOS Lip Balm? Even that, you're still like, you got nothing. But if I change it to, in what ways might we get 14 to 18-year-old girls to buy EOS Lip Balm at CVS in Nashville during the spring of 2020, all of a sudden, I bet everyone can come up with one idea. And if everyone came up with one idea and you wrote it down and you turned it in less than a minute, I got 50 ideas. And that's the power of brainstorming, is the problem statement. The power of brainstorming is making sure that you nail the problem statement. You nail the problem statement, because again, my job is just to get a long list of ideas. So watch what I could do. I'm going to change the I whammy statement. In what ways might we get 35 to 40-year-old women to buy EOS Lip Balm at CVS in Nashville this spring? All of a sudden, you might come up with another idea. Or what if I change it to not the spring, but the fall? Or what if I change it from not CVS, I change it to Walgreens? All I have to do is change one component of this, and you're going to generate more ideas. And my job as the facilitator of our brainstorming session is just simply to get you to have a long list of ideas. So if I immediately got 50, and then I change it and I get 50 more, well, now in less than 5 minutes, I've generated 100 ideas. Don't worry about if you don't have the idea pop. Like you're not brainstorming until you find the right one and then you stop, because then you're judging in the middle of brainstorming and you just defeated the whole purpose. And now, I'm going to turn it over to Tom. Do you want to come here and say, turn it over to Tom?
I do want to say again, please submit questions via the app. That was great. I mean, I'd love to sit through 2 days of that. That was amazing. Yeah. Obviously, as we talked about, sort of social media and social currency, that has become the currency of the future. I mean, I know on the label side, the asks that we get of artists, again, as we talked about, the sort of sharing, this has become sort of it's going to be increasingly valuable as sort of we go on. But Tom actually runs digital strategy for Town Square, and so much like what we just saw from Matt, he's going to walk us through the do's and don'ts and the ins and outs. So, welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Katie. It's very quiet. Have you gotten any questions yet? Oh, okay, cool. Do you want to do them now or wait till we're all done? We'll wait till we're all done. Okay, so part of my job at Town Square Media and some of you might know this, but at Town Square, I remember my team interviews every serious on-air candidate as part of our hiring process. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that every single DJ in the country, regardless of what company you work for, regardless of what community you're in, regardless of the size of the market you're in, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that everyone can agree we should be doing digital, right? Everyone in the room, can we all be in agreement that we should be doing digital? Yes, lots of nodding heads, very good. But what does that mean? Over the course of my interviews, I usually find that it's some version of this list. Up here, there are 14 things. You've got the website, there's YouTube, Facebook Live. Are we gonna be on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat? You know, our sales team, they're on us all the time about posting about our advertising partners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got 14 things up on the board here from one DJ. One DJ who's responsible. Now, not everyone has the same resources as Ginny. I know you mentioned your digital director many times. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But not all of us are in big markets. Not all of us are in mid-sized markets where, you have a digital director necessarily. So you have one DJ who's effectively coming up with tactics on their own for each one of these platforms. So now imagine you have a morning show, and one of those DJs behind the board has these 14 tactics. And now across the desk from them, they've got their co-host, who has 14 more. What are the chances that they are in alignment? How often do you think they get together each day to talk about what exactly are our objectives on Facebook? And how are we going to get there? What exactly are our objectives on Twitter? How are we going to get there? Well, let's not forget middays and afternoons. One radio station, now you potentially have, someone check my math, 56 different tactics on any given day hitting each one of your digital platforms. And by the way, that's not even all of them. You mentioned TikTok, you've got Tumblr, you've got Reddit, Pinterest. The list is endless. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that everyone agrees we should be doing digital, but no one really knows what that means. Because at every single radio station, there's just this tornado of different things that are happening. You'll see one thing in the morning show, you'll see something else middays, and something else entirely different, driving an entirely different message or an entirely different strategy or tactic in the afternoons. So, it's time for change, right? Because you would never allow that on the air. You do air checks, your demo. That's why you program a radio station. You don't just give the DJs the keys to the station. Say, all right, come on in, crack the mic, and talk about whatever you want to, play whatever music you want at any time, and we'll just hope it all works out. No, of course not. If that was what you were doing on a radio station, well, first of all, you would no longer be the PD. But when the new PD came in, their number one first job would be to change. And here's where it starts. Meet your digital champion, Ginny's digital director. At Town Square, we call them digital managing editors. This doesn't need to be someone who you go and hire. This doesn't need to be a new position, although if you have the support and you have the budget, by all means, please do push for that and find the right person, the best person with experience in this field who can come in and work with your team. But you need someone. This might be your DJ who is, the most savvy, as it were, on social media, or gets excited whenever you talk about creating a video. It might be the promotions director who never cracks a mic, but, has the 2 teenage daughters who is connected and at least hears the language and understands where people are at. Maybe it's a part-time host who you've been looking for an opportunity to give them some new responsibility, to expand their role, give them an opportunity to grow, and so you can elevate that to a full-time position. But the bottom line is you need this champion. They don't have to wear armor necessarily, just to be clear, right? Just give them a keyboard and you'll be fine. But the important thing is you have to empower her. You have to empower this person to try new things, establish real policy for your station. This can't be someone who's just walking down the hall suggesting things that then the rest of the hosts may or may not do. Like, actually empower this person to set the tone and set policy, and then lead the entire on-air team, then support and back that person up. I mentioned a moment ago, at Town Square, we call these digital champions digital managing editors. So just to illustrate a little bit about what's possible over time if you can embrace like just this one element of a digital strategy. Town Square was founded in 2010. And at that time, in every single one of our markets, they appointed a digital champion. At that time, there were digital program directors. In some cases, it was the DJ who knew the most about the web or maybe understood how to use Photoshop. In some cases, it was the DJ who knew nothing about the website, who knew nothing about creating graphics, and had no business being anywhere near the digital world. And in some cases, and it happens to be my story, they were hired. We were brought in, a new position was created, and they were given the keys to this new digital castle. 10 years later, across our 321 radio stations, over 150 of those stations have a larger digital audience than we have an on-air audience. That never would have been possible with 56 different tactics happening every single day. It also wasn't overnight, right? This was a 10-year process to go from, half of these champions who didn't know a lick about anything and finding the right people, get them in the right seats on the buses, and like them finding their way. But this has been the result 10 years later. Over 150 of our stations and across our entire local network, when you look at Town Square's Cume 12+, we have a larger digital audience on our local websites than we do over the air. And it all starts with this digital champion. So your champion will be intentional, be proactive, be curious and try new things. How are we going to learn about the TikTok? How are we going to learn about Snapchat? How are we going to learn about being on Instagram? How are we going to learn about any of these things if we give someone the keys but then say, okay, do this thing and do this thing the same way every single day from now until the day you die? They have to be curious. They have to try new things. Use Google Analytics and CrowdTangle. You're going to hear me talk about that quite a bit over the next couple of minutes as I wrap up. Regular report on successes and failures. We have to know what's working and we have to know what's not working. Otherwise, we'll fail. And evolve and expand. So 2 things that your digital champion, this is the shield and the sword, if you will, from their suit of armor. Google Analytics, it's free. If you're not already on Google Analytics and you aren't already tied, regardless of what, on a scale of 1 to 10, how great you think your website is, you've got to get on Google Analytics. You need to know what is working, what are people clicking on, what are they visiting on your website? Are they looking at the DJ bios? Are they clicking on streaming? What are they looking at? It's free. All you have to do is install it on your website, and then you have access to real-time data about what people are looking at on your website. The other free tool is CrowdTangle. This is a tool offered by Facebook that gives, again, real-time analytics, not just of your own brand on Facebook, but of literally any brand in the world. Not only that, but you can create groupings. So say you live in Rockford, Illinois, you might create a group in CrowdTangle that includes all of Rockford's local news outlets, or all of the country radio stations in the entire country, or all of the active rock radio stations in the entire country. And what CrowdTangle will tell you is exactly what's overperforming and trending within that group, within that set, at that exact moment. If you run a radio station and don't have CrowdTangle not only installed, but open on your computer 24 hours a day, you're missing a huge opportunity. Forget digital. What are you talking about on the air? If you want to know exactly what's trending in your community at any given moment, CrowdTangle is where it's at. And again, it's free. So Google Analytics, get it installed right now. Real-time analytics, historical analytics, You need to know what's working and what's not working. And CrowdTangle. Know not only how your own platform is performing, but how your competitors are performing, what's overperforming in the community, and what's overperforming in the industry at that exact moment. Your digital champion is going to pay attention to these things, and because they are empowered, because she knows that you're going to stand behind her when she enacts new policy and is leading the team to the next doing digital thing, she'll be able to use this tool and actually make an impact. So here it is in action, CrowdTangle specifically. Another cool thing that comes with CrowdTangle is that you can get email notifications. So when something is happening in the community, a topic is trending or overperforming, in real time you'll get an email notification saying, hey, pay attention to this because your community is talking about it right now. So Rochester, Minnesota, WCCO TV posted an article about the Wienermobile getting pulled over in Wisconsin for a traffic infraction. CrowdTangle saw that this was overperforming. It was performing 10 times better than the average Facebook post in that community at that time, 10 times better. By the time this notification went out, it had over 300 shares, over 100 comments, and 600, likes, loves, laughs, whatever. So our managing editor in Rochester got this email notification. He passed this information along to James Rabe, one of the DJs there in the station, who then took that article that we found and could just click the link on in CrowdTangle, wrote his own version of this story, published it to the website, pushed it out, not just to Facebook, but to all of our social media channels. They made it into the station newsletter. We sent out app alerts, etc. And because of what started with that CrowdTangle alert, literally within 15 minutes, we had an article published, pushed to Facebook, and now we had our own overperforming, Facebook post out in the world. Reached almost 50,000 people, 7,000 engagements, 282 shares. All because of the one email that came from the free tool that they were signed up for, CrowdTangle. So again, scale of 1 to 10, your website, maybe not that great. You don't need all of these steps in there. You can take this information and use it just to bolster like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever it happens to be. The exact same model works. You get the notification from CrowdTangle, you publish it on Facebook. Just share a link or share, your own commentary on it, and you'll get the exact same reaction. Thus building your own credibility online and making every post that you put up after that much more meaningful and that much more powerful. So do these 3 things right now. Appoint a digital champion. Sign up for Google Analytics, it's free. And even more importantly, sign up for CrowdTangle, also free. And if there is nothing else that you change about the way that you do digital right now, today, make sure that you start using CrowdTangle, because the learnings that you will get from that can translate across every single platform, reaching every single demographic, and I don't know what we would do without it. I really don't know what we would do without it. So, thank you.
I'm actually curious. I have a question. And is there something, as you're monitoring all this information, are there specific things from a content perspective that you feel like really resonate more? I mean, I would have never expected the Wienermobile to be such a big driver.
Sure. So we're often surprised. Like the Wienermobile, if you had told me that headline or that was the topic, would I have predicted that it would have overperformed like that? Probably not. But one thing that we know for sure is local wins. And so what we know is that when James wrote his version of the article, he tied in his own local, what did it mean to him? When was the last time the Wienermobile came through? Did he have the little whistle from when he was a kid? Like those little things, those little elements that really bring it home and bring it back to local, that's the key. It's none of us can ever predict what's going to go viral. I bet if you asked, all of the scientists and doctors in the world if they thought coronavirus was going to be a thing 6 months ago, most of them would never have guessed that. And yet, here we are. Everyone's talking about it. It went viral, right? So it's hard to predict those things, but by paying attention again to crowd tangle and then localizing, and that's a real key component of what we do at Town Square. Local, 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 local. You can increase the likelihood that you'll be able to make it react.
And I'm kind of curious too from the artist perspective as well. I mean, I guess this sort of answers the question of why people spend hours looking at funny cat videos, right? I mean, that same thing. Like I have 2 Great Dane puppies, and so my social media is filled with puppies. And this week, I have heard more about my puppies than anything else. When people, like random people, will seek me out. How are the puppies? You know, and so it becomes one of those. Oh, well, that's apparently engaging. And I'm curious too, because obviously that Kane Brown was a great example. But I'm wondering if there's something that sort of raises its hand more than anything else in terms of specifically artist interaction.
No, you have to make it fun, and I think also, to your point, Matt, you have to own it locally. You have to make it your radio station or your whatever platform you put it on. You have to make it your own, and I think that that's important. That artist is in your town at that moment. What are you going to do that's different and create something that will trend? And I think that that's really important, and it takes some thought. You have to plan these things out.
And I think you said it earlier, tailoring it to what the artist, I think, is comfortable doing. Because when something feels contrived, you know, we get, again, a lot of those questions for artists to do things, and we can sort of vet them and say, that's not going to be a great fit for, it's not going to do what you want it to do, because we know this artist well enough to know that that may not be a comfortable thing.
Another thing that we did, I just thought of it, is we took Brantley Gilbert when he came in, and before we interviewed him. So in Massachusetts, we have all these crazy Native American names of towns, and we put him up on a slide and had him pronounce them, and he you know, invariably he mispronounced them, like butchered them, and it was hysterical, but it was a way to bring all those local towns, you know, hit all of those local towns and get people talking all across the region about this video.
You know, one of the things that you both have mentioned, and I think is really important, is that you should do some research in the sense, go see what Jimmy Fallon's doing, right? Go see what Ellen's doing. Go look at and look at it through the creative eye of, I wonder how they came up with that, right? Is that like there's a show on YouTube, the Hot Ones, the chicken wings, where they eat chicken wings and they get progressively hotter, 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 and by the end, the artist or the actor or whoever, they're like opening up. They're talking about anything by the time they get. It's like it's like you can't stop watching it. And I watched that and I was like, who thought of that idea? But it's fabulous. I mean, it's just great. So I think the sharing of ideas sparks more ideas and different iterations of something and change it up.
And we all wonder where Sharknado came from. It might have been a brainstorming session. Who knew?
Right,
Who knew?
for real.
We did sort of want to put into effect a real-world scenario, but before we do that, I want to make sure that we answer questions that we have.
Yes. All right. A number of amazing questions. I would say I can't get to all of them, but if you had a specific question for Ginny or Matt or Tom, definitely after the session, feel free to come up to them and ask them, because these are some really amazing questions. I think this applies more to Tom and Ginny. How important is it to create different content for different platforms? Do you post the same artist photos on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or do different people follow you on different socials?
Well, what we did is we didn't create different different content for different platforms, but we would take it to your point of scheduling it. You could have something more generic on Facebook, and then have your midday talent post something on your Instagram story, and then your afternoon drive talent post something actually on Instagram or on any of the other platforms that we have. So it's still the same message. It's just delivered a little bit differently with a different artist's picture or video. And video is really important. 15 seconds of video, that's all you need. And if it's great content, you'll get hits on it.
Yeah, I would say ultimately the goal should be to have unique, slightly different presentation on each platform. But I would back up a little bit, and this was kind of the general tone of my presentation, which is get really good at like the core basic thing first, even if that means that it's kind of duplicated across all the platforms. And once you've got that dialed in, then you can start to tweak and fine tune for each of the other individual platforms as you kind of go out, until eventually, again, whether you have a big team or a small team, you can be doing each of those individual format or platform-specific things along the way.
One more question. This is for Tom. Somebody asked if I'm currently with the station in another role, how can I convince them that we need a digital champion and that I'm the person for the job?
That's a really good question. So the first thing I would say is start by just asking, assuming that has already taken place, that you've already had the conversation with the OM, with the GM, and you've been kind of shut down. I would say it's nearly impossible to argue with actual results. So if you already are in a role and you're on air and you have access to the station platforms, put some of these things into effect. You know, use CrowdTangle, target specific content that you're going to share with that in mind, knowing that it's trending either in the industry with the format or locally, and start to build up, you know, a logbook of actual successes. You can't argue with the data. When you're able to go to your boss and say, look, here's how 90% of the stuff we published on Facebook performed, and then here is the other 10% that I'm responsible for that performed 100 times better. Here's the idea I have. Please support me in doing it. That's how I would attack it. And if you don't have access, maybe the reins are really tight on what you are and aren't able to do on the existing station platform, do it on your personal platforms. You know, you have control over your own Facebook, your own Twitter, your own Instagram. There's nothing stopping you from, with your own personal brand, doing all these exact same things and then taking it to that next level.
So I'll just comment on that, because I work with a lot of station ownership, and, you know, at the highest levels, everyone's thinking about headcount and thinking about the business of everything, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. I would not start with what you want to do. I would start first with what problem it will solve for the station. Like, how will it help the station? It's important that we get this done. Do we all agree that this is something that should get done? Oh, and by the way, I think I'm the right person to do that. Not, hey, I'm looking for a new opportunity. I'm looking at this. So make the hero of your story the problem that you're solving, not yourself. And that'll go a lot further.
Great point.
That's great.
Good point.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but as Joey said, I'm sure that Jenny and Tom and Matt will be available to answer any questions you have. So thank you for coming, and I appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you.
Thank
Jenny,
you.
on that.
Thank you.